When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. It's the most famous line from The Alchemist. And we've completely weaponized it. We turned a fable about finding your purpose into the ultimate hustle culture anthem, using it to justify 70-hour work weeks and chasing job titles we don't even care about. But Coelho wasn't writing a guide to corporate success. He was writing a warning. Early in the story, Santiago looks at his flock of sheep and notices a quiet tragedy. They don't look at the sunset. They don't care about the journey. They only care about two things: food and water. They traded their natural instincts for safety. Santiago says, "Because I lead them to nourishment. They trust me." Think about the weight of that. The sheep don't follow the shepherd because they love him. They follow him because they've forgotten how to find grass on their own. They've outsourced their survival to a master. And in exchange for that safety, they gave up their wildness. They gave up their right to wander. We do the same. We call it stability. But often, it's just a slow death of the soul. Think about that promotion you sacrificed your health for. You thought it was a step toward freedom, but it only bought you a more expensive set of golden handcuffs. Now, you're not just answering emails at 10 p.m., you're lying awake at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, wondering when you became a stranger to your own passions. The paycheck is the nourishment that buys your silence. The stability is the water that makes you forget you were born to run. We aren't trapped by the walls of our cubicles. We are trapped by the terrifying thought of what happens if the paycheck stops. We have become so addicted to the nourishment of the system that we would rather suffer in a familiar hell than risk searching for a paradise we've never seen. We aren't afraid of failing. We are afraid of the silence that comes when we no longer have a master telling us what to do next. We choose the cage over the desert. And to understand exactly why we sabotage our own potential, we have to look at the merchant who was too afraid to succeed. Before you even see the desert, the world will try to break you. Santiago arrives in Africa with a pocket full of gold and a heart full of grand plans. Within hours, a friend he just met vanishes with every cent he owns. This isn't just a loss of money, it's a loss of innocence. In our world, this is the moment the market crashes just after you launch your business. It's the layoff notice that arrives the week you signed a mortgage. It's that brutal, unprovoked no from the universe. Most people interpret this as a sign to stop. We tell ourselves, "I'm not cut out for this." But we're wrong. The thief wasn't an accident. He was the tax you paid to enter the game. If you haven't been robbed of your comfort yet, you haven't actually started your journey. The silence following a major failure is where most personal legends go to die. Santiago considers going home. He considers becoming a victim. He realizes that between the dream and the reality, there is a massive gap filled with people who were too hurt to keep walking. We've all been there, sitting in the wreckage of a failed ambition, wondering if the signs we followed were just delusions. This is the ultimate test of autonomy. Are you a shepherd who lost his sheep? Or are you a seeker who just learned a hard lesson? Santiago chooses the latter. He realizes he can look at the world as a victim of a thief, or as an adventurer in search of treasure. Your identity isn't defined by what was taken from you, but by what you do with the emptiness that's left behind. To survive, Santiago takes a job with a crystal merchant. This man isn't a failure. On paper, he's a success. He has a stable business, a respected place in the community, and enough money for his needs. But he is the living definition of a golden cage. He spends his days cleaning the same glass pieces, over and over. This is what we do when we're too afraid to move forward. We invent busy work. We spend years optimizing our LinkedIn profiles, researching the market, or waiting for the right economic climate. Cleaning the crystal makes the merchant feel productive while his life is actually standing still. It's a trick our brain plays on us. We stay in roles that drain our soul because we've become world-class experts at maintaining our own stagnation. We convince ourselves that we're too busy protecting what we have to ever go after what we actually want. We aren't building a career, we're just polishing the bars of our own prison. The merchant admits something that hits like a physical blow. I'm afraid that if my dream is realized, I'll have no reason to go on living. Think about the psychological weight of that statement. For him, Mecca isn't a place to go, it's a reason to stay. As long as Mecca is a plan for the future, it gives him a sense of purpose. It allows him to endure a boring, repetitive present because he can always tell himself, one day, I will be the man who went to Mecca. But if he actually goes, then the dream is over. The mystery is gone. He'd just be an old man who finished a trip. We do this with our lives every single day. We treat our biggest goals like a Netflix show we're saving for later. We're more in love with the idea of being successful than we are with the actual work of being it. Because the idea is perfect. The idea never fails. But reality? Reality is messy. Reality has thieves and hot deserts, and the chance that even if you reach your Mecca, you might still feel empty. So we stay in the shop. We choose a lifetime of what if, because it's safer than finding out the answer. The tragedy of the merchant isn't that he's poor or unhappy. It's that he's comfortable. Comfort is the most dangerous drug in the world. It numbs the pain of a wasted life. We think we're being responsible by playing it safe. But safety has a non-refundable price tag. Every year you spend cleaning the crystal, instead of crossing the desert, is a year you'll never get back. You aren't waiting for the right time. You're waiting for a permission slip that is never coming. The merchant is a ghost of a man who died 30 years ago but forgot to stop breathing. Santiago looks at him and realizes a terrifying truth. The only difference between a grave and a rut is the depth. If you don't leave the shop now, you never will. Santiago leaves the merchant and crosses the brutal desert. Finally, he finds an oasis. He finds safety, wealth, and a woman he loves. Fatima. The tribal leaders even offer him a position of immense power. He has every logical reason to stop. This is the most dangerous part of any journey, the plateau of good enough. In our lives, the oasis is that comfortable middle management position you landed after years of struggling. It's the business that makes just enough money to pay the bills, but not enough to give you freedom. It's the relationship that isn't toxic, but isn't passionate either. We think the hardest part of life is escaping a bad situation. It isn't. The hardest part is walking away from a good situation because you know it isn't your ultimate destiny. The oasis is a trap dressed as a reward. It tempts you to trade your ultimate potential for immediate comfort. It whispers, "You've survived the worst of it. Why risk losing what you've built?" But the desert is at war, and this shatters another massive illusion we have about the alchemist. We love to quote that the universe conspires to help you. We interpret this as the universe being a friendly concierge, clearing the path and handing us our dreams on a silver platter. But look at the story. The universe doesn't send Santiago a map. It sends him into a war zone. The reality of the language of the world is brutal. The market doesn't care about your passion. Industries collapse overnight. Unexpected illness strikes. A global crisis wipes out your savings. The universe doesn't conspire to make your journey easy. It conspires to test your resolve. It throws chaos at you to strip away your arrogance and force you to pay attention. If you expect a smooth ride, the desert will bury you. The obstacles aren't in the way of the path. The obstacles are the path. When Santiago finally meets the real alchemist, the encounter is not a peaceful meditation session. The alchemist doesn't greet him with a hug. He greets him with a sword to the throat. He tests Santiago's courage before he ever tests his wisdom. Because without courage, wisdom is just useless trivia. The alchemist says, courage is the quality most essential to understanding the language of the world. True transformation is a violent process. You cannot become the person you are meant to be without killing the person you currently are. Your old habits, your old ego, your old need for validation, they all have to die in the sand. When the sword is at your throat, when your back is against the wall, when the startup is running out of cash, when you have absolutely no safety net left, that is the only moment you stop reading about alchemy and actually start practicing it. The climax of the book isn't about finding gold. It's when Santiago and the alchemist are captured by an army. To avoid execution, the alchemist promises the commander that Santiago can turn himself into the wind. Santiago is terrified. He has no idea how to do it, but the pressure is absolute. It's evolve or die. This is the ultimate metaphor for radical adaptability. In a world moving faster than ever, you cannot survive by clinging to the skills that got you here. You have to be willing to dissolve your identity. When the pressure hits, you can't just be a programmer, or a writer, or a manager anymore. You have to become the wind. You have to communicate with the environment, adapt to the chaos, and harness the sheer force of your own desperation. You don't discover your true power when everything is fine. You discover it when you have absolutely no other choice but to become something entirely new. Santiago stands before the pyramids. They are ancient, indifferent, and deaf to his prayers. This is the moment the universe is supposed to honor the unwritten contract we all believe in. If I sacrifice enough, I will be rewarded. But the desert doesn't sign contracts. As he digs with raw, bleeding hands, he isn't met by the clink of gold. He is surrounded by a pack of refugees, men hollowed out by tribal wars, driven to a primal state of survival. To them, Santiago isn't a hero on a spiritual quest, he is a target. They don't just rob him, they beat him with a cold, mechanical savagery. This is the ultimate existential crushing. It's the moment you realize that your years of doing the work don't grant you immunity from suffering. The universe isn't a friendly guide, it is a silent witness to your blood in the sand. Most people break here. They mistake the silence of the world for its cruelty, when in reality, the world is simply busy being itself, oblivious to your personal legend. Before they leave him for dead, the leader of the refugees mocks him with a truth that cuts deeper than any blade. I'm not as stupid as you. 2 years ago, right here, I had a dream. I dreamed I should go to Spain, find a ruined church where shepherds sleep, and dig at the roots of a sycamore tree. But I'm not crazy enough to cross a desert for a dream. The irony isn't just painful, it is a demolition of the ego. The treasure was never in Egypt. It was under the very tree where Santiago started, years ago. This is the final filter that the self-help gurus never mention: absurdity. It's the devastating realization that your massive effort was, in a literal sense, unnecessary. It's the founder who burns a decade building a solution for a problem that no longer exists. It's the artist realizing they had the masterpiece in their head at 20, but waited until 60 to paint it. The refugees weren't there to steal his money, they were there to kill the boy who thought he was the center of the universe. They were the messengers of the most brutal truth. You had to travel 5,000 miles just to see what was right beneath your feet. The most obvious question is, why couldn't the universe just tell him to dig under the tree on day one? Because the boy who left Spain couldn't have survived the gold. If he had found the treasure, then what would he have done? He would have bought a larger flock of sheep. He would have purchased a bigger house. He would have used his wealth to build a more comfortable, more expensive cage. He would have remained a slave, just a richer one. The journey across the desert wasn't a geographical requirement, it was a controlled demolition of his ego. He needed the thief to cure his naivety. He needed the crystal merchant to show him the cowardice of comfort. He needed the alchemist to teach him how to look death in the eye. The miles, the blood, and the betrayals weren't a delay of his success, they were the preparation for it. You don't take the journey to find the gold, you take the journey so the gold doesn't destroy you. If you are grinding every day, waiting for a specific milestone, an exit strategy, a corner office, or a flawless portfolio, to finally give you permission to feel complete, you are missing the entire point of alchemy. You are still thinking like a sheep looking for the next patch of grass. True autonomy doesn't come from acquiring the treasure. It comes from the radical realization that you can survive without it. Santiago can hold the gold now because he knows he can lose it all tomorrow in a desert, and he would still be whole. Your personal legend isn't about reaching the destination. It's about being violently, beautifully reshaped by the path, until you become the kind of person who no longer needs a map. Santiago finds the gold in the simple geometry of a fable. This is the finish line. The boy who left with nothing returns with a fortune. But if you look closely at his hands, scarred by the desert, calloused by the shovel, you realize the gold is the least interesting thing in this scene. There is a psychological trap called the Arrival Fallacy, the belief that once we reach a certain destination, we will finally be happy. We spend our lives sprinting toward a chest of gold, a job title, a net worth, a relationship, only to find that the gold itself is strangely cold. The gold Santiago found in Spain is materially identical to the gold he lost in Tangier. It has the same weight, the same luster, yet, the man holding it has been completely dismantled and rebuilt. To the boy who started, this gold was a ticket to freedom. To the man who has spoken to the wind, the gold is merely a souvenir of a war he has already won within himself. The tragedy of modern life isn't that we fail to find our treasure, it's that we find it. But we're still the same sheep we were at the beginning, unable to carry its weight. The ghost of the crystal merchant didn't die in that shop on the hill. He lives in every one of us who says, I will start when I'm ready. He is the person who has 10 years of experience, but in reality, he has 1 year of experience repeated 10 times. He is terrified of the desert because the desert demands a price he isn't willing to pay, the death of his current self. Alchemy is not a formula for wealth, it is a process of controlled demolition. The universe isn't a benevolent concierge waiting to hand you a prize for your passion. It is a brutal, indifferent furnace. It doesn't conspire to give you what you want. It conspires to burn away the illusions that are holding you back. If you feel like you are in a cycle of nothing, if your projects are failing, if your path is blocked, if you feel robbed by the refugees of life, understand this: you aren't being punished. You are being prepared. You are in the middle of the great work, where the lead of your ego is being melted down so that something eternal can take its place. This journey of condensing the world's most profound wisdom into a path we can actually walk is what we do here at Page Condensed. We don't believe in quick fixes or clickbait philosophy. We believe in the long desert crossing. If you are someone who values the depth of the process over the noise of the result, stay with us. Subscribe to join this laboratory of ideas. Let's explore the alchemy of the mind together, one deep dive at a time, because the desert is too vast to cross alone. So, as you look at your own life today, your own version of the crystal shop or your own stretch of desert, ask yourself one final, uncomfortable question. Are you polishing the bars of a golden cage, waiting for a permission slip that will never come? Or are you brave enough to let the path strip you of everything you think you are, so you can finally discover what you actually can be? The gold is just metal. It can be stolen, lost, or buried, but the man who has learned to become the wind, he can never be imprisoned again. The question isn't whether you will find your treasure. The question is, who will you be when you finally touch it?